Well, all things considered, we were pleased with the progress that we made last season, for various reasons. I guess you start with the fact that the roster that we had inherited essentially had no returning starters or no full-time starters. The previous two seasons, they had their four leading scorers and four people that essentially had started every game from the last 2 years had graduated. So it was obviously a group that was very inexperienced. Understandably, we were picked to finish 11th or last in the Sun Belt. We actually finished tied for 8th in the final regular season standings. Again, exceeded expectations there a little bit. I thought there was a lot of things that we accomplished that we certainly want to accomplish a lot more than this, but just, the mere fact that we had more wins overall and more wins in conference since the 2010-2011 season for the Warhawks. We certainly, we're excited to accomplish that. Even just the mere fact that we finished third in the league in attendance, certainly was something to build on as well. And again, obviously, we had a lot of tough, close games. I think we actually had 11 games this past season that were decided either in overtime or in the final minute. So we weren't that far away from actually finishing in the top 8 and making the Sun Belt tournament, but still had some great wins. The win over Lafayette, win over Texas State, a win over McNeese State. All three of those teams went on to play in the postseason. Of course, sweeping UT Arlington was big, a team that is obviously thought of very highly, being picked to finish second this coming year. So, and then even from a non-league perspective, again, things to build on. Our RPI was actually ranked ahead of several teams from conferences, including the Pac-12, the Big East, the Mountain West, and the American Athletic Conference. So certainly some things to build on. We know we need to get better. And again, as I told the team after our last game last year, we need to make sure that 12 and 17 is the worst season that we have. But all things considered, a year certainly to build on, and a year that we were pleased with.
Thank you very much, Coach Dow. As a reminder to our members of the media, please press *1 to get in the queue to ask questions at this time. Our first questions come from Monroe, Louisiana. Caller, please identify yourself and go ahead.
Hey, Jeff, it's Adam at the New Star. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Adam. How are you?
Not too bad. The last time we talked, you were telling me that you were pretty excited about how the off-season workouts went this summer and everything. Did that carry over to the fall once you got the girls back on campus?
Yeah, it definitely did. And I tell you what, it has really helped to have several returning players and several key returning players. You can just tell how much further along they are compared to last season, and they've done a really good job of kind of trying to take the newcomers under their wing a little bit and kind of make sure they understand how we want to do things around here, and just whether it's explaining a play or a drill or terminology or what have you. I definitely feel like we're going to be deeper all the way around, especially on the perimeter compared to last year's team, and hopefully a little bit better on the offensive end. I think you and I, in some of our conversations, we had a lot of games where we were really good defensively and maybe even really good on the boards. In fact, this past year in the Sun Belt, we were third in the league in field goal percentage defense, third in the league in rebounding margin, and that's all well and good, but you got to be able to score, and that was our biggest struggle. Two areas in particular, I think finishing 11th in the league in three-pointers made per game and 11th in the league in turnovers. So hopefully we can be a little bit shore those areas up without losing anything on the defensive end or on the boards.
The one obvious loss, I think, is down low in the post. Without Sharnice Brooks, as you guys kind of get used to plugging some new people in, do you still get the feeling that you might be a little bit more perimeter-oriented this year, or how does that change things not having her?
I think we're going to have to be. Now, I do think Alacia Hunter, she had a number of, good games in her own right this past season, and is really emerging, through these first few weeks of practice, I think, is somewhat of a go-to player for us. I mean, it remains to be seen. Sharnice was unbelievably consistent. Last year you could just about pencil her in, night in and night out for 16 points and 8 rebounds. So I don't know that we'll quite get that from Alacia. It'd be great if we do. And not only the loss of Sharnice, but I would also add Christina Gray, somebody that was just played played with an unbelievable motor, great on the boards, as undersized as she was. She took 21 charges. It was just a great, had a tremendous work ethic and just kind of gave us a lot of energy. So she was the other, starting post player as well. So those are two pretty big losses. But I do think that, like I said, I do feel like we're deeper in the perimeter, and I think we're going to have to, out of necessity at times, almost kind of go with a four-guard lineup. And again, maybe spread the floor a little bit more and ideally play a little bit more up-tempo as well than compared to what we did last year.
Yeah. And with that being said, that puts a little bit more on the plate of Deja Chase and Chelsea, two freshman guards you threw in there last year. Now, coming back as sophomores, how have they matured?
I tell you what, they looked like different players, even going back to the workouts in April, after the season. They definitely they look like they're kind of ready to step up and be two of our best players from day one, and that certainly carried over into the summer. Unfortunately, Chelsea has had a bit of an issue with her hip and has not practiced much the last couple of weeks, and actually just got cleared yesterday to practice today with contact. So she might be a little bit behind, but one thing that's going to be a little bit different with her is we'll probably see a lot more minutes from her playing the point than what she did last year. Will probably allow us to have a little bit bigger lineup, and just with some of the wings that we have, again, a little more length as well, and maybe a little more firepower from three. So we're looking for her to kind of play a little bit of a combo role, more so than last year for the point and the two. And similar with Deja is probably going to have to play the 3 and the 4. Again, I know she's a little bit undersized as a 4, but for what it's worth, especially in Sun Belt games only, she was one of the top rebounders in the league as a freshman. And I think she's a tough enough player and certainly has the athleticism and the knack for rebounding that she could play some at the 4 as well. So we've been impressed with both of them. I think they've worked a lot on being better, certainly from shooting from 3. I think people had a tendency to kind of sag off of Deja and dare her, to knock down an 18-footer, and she's a lot more confident in that regard this season.
Yeah. You're looking at your signing class. Bringing 60 players in here. Who are some of the people in that class you think can contribute for you guys this fall? Or not fall, this winter?
Hopefully all of them. Right now, I guess maybe a few that have really stood out. Jamie Gibson is a freshman. Again, kind of playing a similar role as Deja, swinging between the 3 and the 4. A little bit undersized, obviously, at 5'10", coming, of course, off the season which she was named All-State at the 5A level. But we've really been impressed with, how hard she works every day. Just understands, has a great understanding of what we're trying to do on both ends of the floor, and certainly has a high basketball IQ, I think. Velma Mitchell is another freshman, a wing that has certainly had her moments where she has shined, and certainly is going to give us a lift, I think, offensively in particular. Those two, I would say, and then Andriana Jackson, of course, is somewhat of a local product from Rayville, very athletic, and also shoot the 3, will certainly help us on the wing as well. But we're counting on all 6. I mean, we really think, they were brought here for a reason, and I would like to think the majority of them will be in the rotation and averaging over 10 minutes a game.
Looking at this season, and like you said, you wanted to make sure that last year was the worst season you had here. What do you think is a realistic expectation for the team this year?
Well, we really don't talk a whole lot about, X number of wins or what have you, but I think it's very simple. It's, making the Sun Belt tournament and then, see what happens from there. Obviously, the format of the league is you must be in the top 8, and again, unfortunately, we've lost out on the tiebreaker, having finished tied for 8 with Georgia State last year, and of course, we've talked about, again, some of those close games that we lost, either in overtime or, like I said, literally one-possession games that, could have bumped us up a couple spots in the standings. Now, I realize we won our share of those games as well, so that works both ways. But I think first and foremost, finding a way to crack the top 8 in the Sun Belt, I think would certainly, again, continue to show the progress that we're making as a program.
Jeff, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you very much, Adam. We have time for one more question from Dan McDonough with McD Media. Dan, please go ahead.
Coach, just quickly, you lost so much scoring from last year. Where is the offense going to come from, do you think, right now?
Well, I think I wouldn't say we have one. There's no getting around it. Charlize, I think all the coaches would tell you, she was our go-to player, and a lot of our set plays were obviously designed to get her the ball. I think we're going to have to spread the wealth a little bit more this year. Like I said, Alicia Hunter certainly is somebody, there's no question, she's capable of averaging in double figures. And again, I do think Deja Chase and Chelsea Toole are certainly people that can average in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 points a game. And then, you've got to find a way to have some of the other returners, maybe people that averaged 3 or 4 points a game last year need to be in the 6 to 7 points a game, and then everybody kind of pick it up a little bit. And then obviously you certainly hope some of the newcomers can chip in as well. But so it's probably not going to be as nearly as one-dimensional as I guess I would say we kind of became last year. But we kind of had to do that out of necessity. We did not have a lot of scoring punch outside of Charnice, just to be very honest about it, last season.
And one more quick question. The new rules, the quarter system, moving the ball up at the end and the timeouts and so forth, are you a fan of it, and how do you think
I guess we'll see. I tell you one thing that I can already, I guess, maybe I shouldn't assume too much or speculate, but, one of the things that we were really good at last year, and this is, traditionally been something that's a trademark of teams that I've coached, is getting to the foul line. Last year we averaged nearly 22 free throw attempts per game, which was number one in the Sun Belt, and that's a big point of emphasis for us offensively. And now with the new rules and going to the 10-minute quarters, and of course resetting the team fouls, at the end of each quarter it goes back down to 0. I know the committee that put the rules together and made the changes, the whole idea is to try to speed up the game, which, of course, if there's fewer free throws, it's going to speed up the game. So I'm a little leery, and again, I guess everybody probably has their own self-serving biases, but, I would prefer not to have seen that change. But I do like the timeout in the last 59.9 seconds of the game. I think that's a great idea. I'm certainly a fan of that, but like I said, I'm just a little disappointed on the change in the free throw format, though.
Appreciate it, Coach.
You're welcome.